Sophia Green took a deep breath as she stepped into La Belle Vie, one of Chicago's most elegant restaurants. The grandeur of the space was overwhelming. Glittering chandeliers hung from high ceilings, reflecting off polished marble floors, while well-dressed patrons dined under soft candlelight. Sophia felt out of place in her best thrift store dress, a navy blue number with a modest neckline and a cinched waist that she'd picked up for $15 last summer. Her best friend, Maya, had promised her this blind date would be different, but as Sophia nervously adjusted her clutch, she wasn't so sure. Scanning the room, her eyes landed on a man sitting alone at a corner table. He looked to be in his early 30s, with sharp features, neatly combed dark hair, and an expensive-looking suit. His deep-set eyes seemed focused on something distant, giving him an air of quiet intensity. That must be Ethan, she thought, recalling the name Maya had shared. Mustering a bright smile, Sophia approached the table. "Hi, I'm Sophia," she said, her voice tinged with nervous energy. "You must be Ethan." The man looked up, his brows furrowing slightly. "I'm sorry," he began, but her eager expression stopped him. Sophia, mistaking his hesitation for shyness, slid into the seat across from him before he could finish. "You don't have to be nervous," she said quickly, offering him a reassuring smile. "Blind dates can be a little awkward, but Maya said you're a great guy." Ryan Carter, the man at the table, stared at her, momentarily speechless. He had come to La Belle Vie for a quiet evening alone, hoping to escape the chaos of his world as a high-profile tech entrepreneur. He wasn't used to people approaching him so openly, especially not women like Sophia, whose earnest warmth radiated in stark contrast to the calculated charm he often encountered. Something about her disarming smile made him pause. Against his better judgment, he decided to play along. "Well, I suppose Maya knows me better than I thought," he said, a small, amused smile tugging at his lips. Sophia laughed nervously, relieved that he seemed to relax. She launched into light conversation, talking about how Maya had been pestering her to get back into dating after her last relationship ended. "I wasn't sure about this whole blind date thing, but here I am," she said, her hands gesturing animatedly. Ryan listened, intrigued. Her enthusiasm was refreshing, and her honesty was a breath of fresh air. As the evening progressed, he found himself genuinely enjoying the conversation. Sophia spoke about her passion for art, her part-time job at a local cafe, and her dream of one day opening her own studio. In turn, Ryan shared bits of himself, carefully edited, of course. He didn't mention his wealth or his company, preferring to let her assume he was just another ordinary guy. Just as the conversation reached a comfortable rhythm, Sophia's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and froze. "Excuse me for a moment," she said, standing abruptly and stepping away from the table. The message from Ethan read, "Hey, I'm at the table by the window. Where are you?" Sophia's heart sank. Oh no. Heat rushed to her cheeks as the realization hit her. She'd been sitting with the wrong man the entire time. Mortified, she glanced back at Ryan, who was casually sipping his wine, unaware of her discovery. Sophia returned to the table, her movements stiff with embarrassment. I'm so sorry," she stammered, avoiding his gaze. "There's been a mistake. I thought you were someone else." Ryan's brows lifted, and for a moment, he didn't say anything. Then, to her surprise, he chuckled softly. "I had a feeling," he admitted. Sophia felt the urge to crawl under the table. "I should go," she said hurriedly, gathering her things. "I'm so sorry for bothering you." Before Ryan could respond, she darted toward the exit, her cheeks burning. Ryan watched her leave, a mixture of amusement and regret swirling in his chest. She was unlike anyone he'd met, genuine, unpretentious, and utterly captivating. As the door closed behind her, he leaned back in his chair, already wondering if their paths would cross again. Ryan Carter spent the next few days distracted. He was used to compartmentalizing his emotions. Years of running a billion-dollar tech company had taught him the importance of focus. Yet, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't shake the memory of the woman who had mistaken him for her date. Sophia Green. Her name was etched into his thoughts alongside her animated gestures, the way her eyes lit up when she spoke about her art, and the genuine warmth she exuded. For a man who moved in circles where conversations were transactional and relationships often shallow, Sophia had been a revelation. Her vulnerability and sincerity lingered like a song he couldn't stop humming. "Ryan, are you listening?" He blinked and turned to face his assistant, Claire, who was briefing him about an upcoming investors meeting. "Sorry, Claire. What were you saying?" Claire gave him a knowing look. "You've been zoning out all week. Something on your mind?" Ryan hesitated. Talking about personal matters wasn't his style, but Claire had been with him for years and had become one of the few people he trusted implicitly. "I met someone," he admitted finally. Claire raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. "Well, that's a first. What's her name?" "Sophia," he said, the name rolling off his tongue more softly than he intended. "But it's complicated. She thinks I'm someone else." Claire smirked. "Sounds like a story worth hearing. But if she's stuck in your head, maybe you shouldn't leave things unresolved." Ryan nodded, her words sparking a decision. He wasn't the kind of man to leave loose ends, whether in business or life. Meanwhile, across the city, Sophia was trying her best to forget the incident at La Bellevue. Sitting in her tiny apartment, she stared at the half-finished sketch on her desk, but inspiration refused to come. Her embarrassment from the mistaken identity had morphed into a gnawing sense of regret. "Maybe he wasn't your date," Maya teased over the phone later that evening. "But he sounds like someone straight out of a romantic comedy." "Did you say he didn't even get mad?" "No, he didn't," Sophia admitted, her cheeks flushing at the memory of Ryan's amused smile. "He was kind, and a really good listener." "See? That's fate, girl," Maya said with a dramatic flair. "Maybe you should run into him again. Accidentally on purpose." Sophia laughed but shook her head. "I think I've embarrassed myself enough for one lifetime." Still, the thought lingered. For all her awkwardness, Sophia couldn't deny that Ryan had left an impression. 2 days later, Sophia was behind the counter at the cafe where she worked part-time. The bell over the door jingled as a customer walked in, but she didn't look up. "Welcome to Bean and Brush. I'll be with you in a moment," she said automatically, wiping down the espresso machine. "No rush," came a familiar voice. Her head snapped up, and her heart skipped a beat. There he was, Ryan Carter, standing by the counter, dressed casually in a charcoal sweater and jeans, holding a faintly amused expression. "You!" Sophia's voice trailed off, her brain struggling to process his unexpected appearance. "Hi, Sophia," Ryan said, his tone warm. "I hope I'm not interrupting." She blinked, still trying to connect the dots. "How did you?" "I remembered your name and did some digging," he admitted, holding up his hands in mock surrender. "Not in a creepy way, I promise. I just wanted to make sure I got the chance to apologize for misleading you the other night." Sophia's cheeks burned. "You don't have to apologize. I'm the one who interrupted your evening." Ryan shook his head. "You didn't interrupt anything. Actually, I had a great time." He paused, his voice softening. "I haven't been able to stop thinking about it." Her breath hitched. She wasn't sure how to respond, so she defaulted to politeness. "That's kind of you to say. I'd like to make it up to you," Ryan continued. "Would you let me take you out for coffee? No blind dates, no mix-ups, just two people having a conversation." Sophia hesitated. Her first instinct was to say no, fearing she'd embarrass herself further. But the sincerity in his eyes made her pause. This wasn't someone looking for an elaborate game. He genuinely seemed interested in getting to know her. "Okay," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "Great," Ryan said, smiling. "When's your next day off?" They arranged to meet at a small, cozy coffee shop Sophia loved. As Ryan walked out of the cafe, she found herself smiling despite the flurry of nerves in her chest. The encounter left Ryan feeling lighter than he had in months. For someone who spent his days surrounded by data, projections, and endless meetings, he realized that his decision to reach out to Sophia had nothing to do with logic. It was simply something he felt compelled to do. And for Sophia, the promise of their meeting stirred a mixture of hope and apprehension. She didn't know where this connection might lead, but she couldn't deny that the prospect of seeing Ryan again felt right. The air was crisp with the scent of roasted coffee beans as Sophia Green arrived at Brew and Bloom, her favorite neighborhood cafe. The sun streamed through the large glass windows, casting a warm glow over the rustic wooden tables and eclectic mix of local artwork adorning the walls. She clutched her bag tightly, her palms slightly damp with nervousness. Would Ryan Carter show up? Sophia had spent the night replaying their brief exchange at her cafe. The fact that he'd sought her out after their awkward encounter baffled her. Men like Ryan didn't typically cross paths with women like her. Yet, here she was, her heart racing with equal parts excitement and trepidation. Before she could spiral into overthinking, the door jingled open. Ryan stepped inside, dressed casually in a dark blue button-down shirt and jeans, exuding effortless charm. His sharp features softened into a smile as his eyes landed on her. "Hey, Sophia," he greeted, his voice warm and inviting. "Hi," she replied, standing awkwardly before gesturing toward the table she had claimed near the window. "I got us a spot." "Perfect." Ryan followed her to the table and pulled out a chair, sitting across from her. The conversation started hesitantly, with the usual exchange of pleasantries and comments about the weather. But as the initial awkwardness melted away, they began to talk more freely. Sophia told Ryan about her upbringing, her part-time jobs, and her love of sketching. Her eyes lit up when she spoke about art, and Ryan couldn't help but be captivated by the way her passion infused every word. "What do you like to draw?" he asked, leaning forward. "People, mostly," she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "I love capturing expressions, the little moments that tell a story without words." Ryan smiled, thinking how well that description fit her. She had a way of wearing her emotions openly, something rare in his world of guarded smiles and hidden agendas. "What about you?" Sophia asked, tilting her head. "What do you do?" Ryan hesitated. He didn't want to overwhelm her with the reality of his status as a tech entrepreneur worth millions. Instead, he opted for a simpler explanation. "I work in technology," he said vaguely, "mostly building software and managing a team." Sophia nodded, satisfied with the answer. "That sounds challenging. Do you enjoy it?" Ryan thought for a moment. "I do," he admitted, though his tone carried a note of weariness. "But sometimes I feel like I'm too caught up in the corporate world. It's refreshing to talk to someone who sees life through a different lens." Sophia blushed at the compliment, unsure how to respond. After finishing their coffee, Ryan suggested a walk. They strolled through a nearby park, the crisp autumn air invigorating as golden leaves crunched underfoot. Sophia, feeling more comfortable, pulled out her sketchbook. "I always bring this with me," she explained, flipping through pages of intricate pencil drawings. Each sketch was a snapshot of life. A mother cradling her baby, an elderly man reading on a park bench, a stray cat curled up under a street lamp. Ryan was mesmerized. "You're incredibly talented," he said, his admiration genuine. Sophia laughed nervously. "Thank you. It's just a hobby, really." "It's more than that," Ryan said firmly. "You have a gift." Her cheeks flushed at his praise, but she couldn't help feeling a flutter of pride. As the afternoon stretched on, their connection deepened. They laughed about childhood memories, shared thoughts on their favorite books, and discovered a mutual love for simple pleasures like quiet mornings and long walks. When it was time to part ways, Ryan hesitated. "I'd like to see you again," he said, his voice softer than usual. Sophia looked at him, her heart hammering in her chest. "I'd like that too." That evening, Sophia couldn't stop smiling. Her time with Ryan had been unexpectedly wonderful, and for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to feel hopeful. On the other side of the city, Ryan sat in his expansive apartment, staring out at the skyline. His world was one of boardrooms and billion-dollar deals, but somehow, it felt incomplete compared to the simplicity of an afternoon spent with Sophia. He knew this connection was fragile, like a piece of delicate art. And for the first time in years, Ryan Carter was determined to nurture something not for profit or power, but for the quiet, undeniable joy it brought him. Sophia Green had always been independent. Years of juggling part-time jobs, art commissions, and caring for her mother had taught her resilience. But as the days passed and her connection with Ryan deepened, she found herself leaning into something unfamiliar: trust. It started subtly. Ryan would text her during the day, asking how her shift went or sharing a funny anecdote from his life. His messages were thoughtful, never intrusive, and always seemed to arrive just when she needed a pick-me-up. Then came the small acts of kindness. One chilly morning, as Sophia balanced a bag of groceries and her art supplies on the steps to her apartment building, Ryan appeared out of nowhere. "Need a hand?" he asked, his voice laced with amusement. Sophia startled but quickly smiled. "How did you?" "I may have remembered you mentioning your schedule," he admitted, taking the bags from her arms. "And I thought you could use a little help." She wanted to protest but found herself strangely comforted by his presence. "Thank you," she said softly as they climbed the stairs together. Inside her small apartment, Ryan's sharp eyes took in the humble surroundings. The second-hand furniture, the neatly organized art supplies, and the small photo of Sophia and her mother on the windowsill. "That's my mom," Sophia said, noticing his gaze. "She's been my rock through everything. She's battling health issues right now, so things are tough." Ryan nodded, his expression serious. "You're taking care of her?" Sophia shrugged. "It's what family does, right? She's done so much for me. This is the least I can do." Her words struck a chord with Ryan. Growing up in a world of privilege, he'd never faced the kind of challenges Sophia described. Yet, her unwavering love for her mother reminded him of what truly mattered, something he often lost sight of in his high-stakes world. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. Ryan began accompanying Sophia on errands, turning mundane tasks like grocery shopping or trips to the pharmacy into opportunities to laugh and share stories. His presence was steady and unassuming, and Sophia found herself looking forward to their time together. One evening, Ryan surprised her with tickets to an art gallery opening. "You've been carrying me around to all your errands," he teased. "I figured it's time I see the world through your eyes." Sophia hesitated. The idea of attending an upscale event felt daunting, but Ryan's encouragement won her over. The gallery buzzed with chatter and the clink of champagne glasses as they arrived. Sophia, in a simple but elegant dress she had borrowed from Maya, felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. As they wandered through the exhibits, Ryan listened intently to her observations. Sophia's passion for art was contagious. She spoke with a depth of understanding and emotion that made him see the paintings in a new light. "This one," she said, gesturing to an abstract piece, "is about longing. The brushstrokes are chaotic, but the colors, they're tender. It's like the artist is reaching for something just out of their grasp." Ryan looked at her, not the painting. "You have an incredible way of seeing the world, Sophia." She glanced at him, startled by the intensity in his voice. "It's just how I feel," she said, blushing. By the end of the evening, Ryan wasn't thinking about the art. He was thinking about Sophia's laughter, the way her eyes lit up as she explained the significance of each piece, and the unspoken connection that seemed to bloom between them. Their bond reached a turning point a week later when Ryan found Sophia sitting in the park, her sketchbook open but untouched. She looked pensive, her usually vibrant energy dimmed. "Hey," he said, sitting beside her. "What's on your mind?" Sophia sighed, her fingers tracing the edge of the paper. "I've been saving up to open my own art studio, but with my mom's medical bills, it feels like a pipe dream." Ryan didn't respond immediately. Instead, he placed a hand on hers, grounding her in the present. "You're not alone in this," he said gently. "I'm here. Whatever you need, we'll figure it out together." Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes, but she blinked them away. "Ryan, I don't want to rely on anyone. I've worked hard to stand on my own 2 feet. And that's what I admire most about you," he said, his voice firm. "But sometimes, letting someone in doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger." His words hung in the air, and for the first time, Sophia allowed herself to believe him. That night, as she lay in bed, Sophia thought about how much her life had changed since meeting Ryan. He had become more than a friend or a companion. He was someone who saw her, truly saw her, and believed in her dreams as much as she did. And for Ryan, the once distant and guarded businessman, Sophia had become a source of inspiration. Her resilience, kindness, and determination reminded him of what it meant to live authentically. Neither of them knew where this journey would lead, but for the first time, they both felt ready to face it together. Sophia's days with Ryan were filled with a warmth she hadn't felt in years. Their connection grew stronger with each passing moment, but she never allowed herself to fully question how someone like Ryan had entered her life. She focused instead on the way he made her feel valued, understood, and cherished. One quiet afternoon, Sophia found herself flipping through her sketchbook, her pencil idly tracing the edges of a half-finished portrait. The subject? Ryan. She had drawn him from memory, capturing the thoughtful way his brows furrowed when he was deep in conversation and the soft curve of his lips when he smiled. Maya entered the room, carrying a tray with tea and cookies. She peered over Sophia's shoulder, a sly grin spreading across her face. Ryan again? Maya teased, setting the tray down. You've got it bad, girl. Sophia laughed, though her cheeks reddened. It's not like that, she insisted, but even she wasn't convinced by her words. Oh, come on, Maya pressed. The guy is dreamy, thoughtful, and crazy about you. What's not to like? Sophia hesitated, her pencil stilling on the page. I don't really know much about him, she admitted. He's been so supportive and kind, but he's private. I don't even know his last name. Maya raised an eyebrow. Private, huh? You should Google him. You'd be surprised what you can find out about people these days. Sophia brushed off the suggestion, but the seed of curiosity had been planted. That evening, as she prepared for bed, she couldn't shake the thought. Finally, with a sigh of reluctance, she grabbed her phone and typed Ryan Tech New York into the search bar. The results stunned her. There, splashed across multiple news articles, was Ryan Carter's name and photo. CEO of a major tech company. A multimillionaire philanthropist. The darling of the business world. Sophia's breath hitched as she scrolled through the articles, each one painting a picture of a man whose life seemed worlds apart from hers. How could I not have known? She whispered to herself, her chest tightening. The next time Sophia saw Ryan was at a charity event. He had invited her casually, mentioning it was a low-key affair supporting local artists. Sophia, eager to support the cause, had accepted. The venue was stunning, with crystal chandeliers and elegant floral arrangements. As Sophia entered, wearing a simple but graceful dress Maya had helped her pick out, she was struck by the sheer opulence of it all. Over here, Ryan's familiar voice called out, and Sophia spotted him near the entrance, looking dapper in a tailored suit. He greeted her with his usual warmth, but Sophia's mind buzzed with questions. She wanted to confront him, but not here, not in front of the crowd. As the evening progressed, Sophia observed Ryan from a distance. He moved through the room with ease, shaking hands with dignitaries and exchanging pleasantries with other influential guests. It all felt so calculated, so far removed from the Ryan she had come to know. Finally, unable to contain her emotions, Sophia pulled him aside into a quiet hallway. Why didn't you tell me? She demanded, her voice low but sharp. Ryan blinked, caught off guard. Tell you what? Who you really are, Sophia said, holding up her phone with one of the articles she had found. Ryan Carter, tech millionaire, philanthropist, CEO. This is you, isn't it? Ryan's expression shifted from surprise to guilt. Sophia, I wanted to tell you. I didn't know how. You lied to me, she said, her voice trembling. You let me believe you were just some regular guy, someone I could relate to. Why? Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. Because I didn't want my money or my status to get in the way of us. People treat me differently when they know who I am, and I didn't want that with you. I wanted you to see me for me. Sophia shook her head, stepping back. But you weren't honest. You didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth. How can I believe anything you say now? Ryan's eyes were filled with regret. Sophia, I care about you. Everything I've shared with you, the time we've spent together, it's all been real. Please believe me. But Sophia couldn't. The betrayal cut too deep. Without another word, she turned and walked away, leaving Ryan standing alone in the empty hallway. That night, Sophia lay awake, replaying the confrontation in her mind. She had opened her heart to Ryan, trusted him, and he had hidden such a huge part of his life from her. On the other side of the city, Ryan stared out at the glittering skyline from his penthouse apartment. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of his choices bearing down on him. He had wanted to protect what they had, but in doing so, he had destroyed the trust Sophia had placed in him. And now, the woman who had brought so much light into his life was gone. The days following the confrontation were the longest and loneliest Ryan had experienced in years. Without Sophia's warmth and laughter, the world felt colder, emptier. He pored over every moment they'd spent together, searching for a way to make things right. He reached out to Maya, hoping to get through to Sophia indirectly. "I know I don't deserve her trust right now," he admitted during their call, "but I need to show her how much she means to me. Can you help me?" Maya, initially skeptical, softened as Ryan described the depth of his feelings. "She's hurt," Maya said firmly, "and you need to do more than just say sorry. Show her that you see her, not just for her talent, but for who she is." Ryan mulled over her words, and an idea began to take shape. A way to show Sophia just how much he valued her dreams. Sophia, meanwhile, tried to focus on her art. But every time she picked up her sketchbook, memories of Ryan flooded her mind. The way he listened to her with genuine interest, how he'd encouraged her to believe in herself. She hated how much she missed him, even as she struggled with the betrayal. One evening, Maya burst into their apartment, practically glowing with excitement. "Sophia, get dressed. We're going out." "What? Why?" Sophia asked, raising an eyebrow. "It's a surprise," Maya said, grinning mischievously. "Trust me. You'll thank me later." Despite her initial reluctance, Sophia allowed Maya to coax her into an outfit, a soft, flowing dress in a shade of deep blue that complemented her eyes. When they arrived at the venue, a sleek, modern gallery in the heart of the city, Sophia hesitated. "Maya, I don't know if I'm in the mood for this," but Maya simply took her hand, pulling her inside. The gallery was buzzing with activity. As Sophia stepped through the door, her breath caught in her throat. The walls were lined with her artwork, her sketches, her paintings, even pieces she'd thought no one but Maya had ever seen. Her work had been transformed. Each piece was framed with care, illuminated by soft, flattering lights that highlighted the intricate details of her artistry. The crowd whispered in admiration, and Sophia caught snippets of conversation. Such raw emotion. "This artist has an incredible voice. Who is she?" Sophia turned to Maya, her voice trembling. "What? How did this happen?" Before Maya could answer, Ryan appeared. He was dressed simply, his usually confident demeanor replaced with a quiet vulnerability. "It's all you," he said softly. "Every piece in this room. It deserves to be seen, Sophia. You deserve to be seen." Sophia stared at him, her emotions a whirlwind of confusion, awe, and lingering hurt. "You did this?" Ryan nodded. "I didn't mean to invade your space or push you. I wanted to show you how much I believe in you. You've spent so much of your life putting others first, taking care of your mom, fighting for your dreams. You deserve to have the world see how amazing you are." Tears welled in her eyes as she looked around the room, seeing her work through the eyes of others for the first time. Strangers marveled at her talent, their admiration genuine and heartfelt. "And the proceeds from tonight?" Ryan continued, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Every penny goes to you. For your studio, your mom, whatever you need." Sophia's heart ached with conflicting feelings. On one hand, she was overwhelmed by the gesture, by the sheer thoughtfulness and effort Ryan had put into it. On the other, the pain of his earlier deception still lingered. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan took a step closer, his eyes meeting hers. "Because I care about you, Sophia, more than I've ever cared about anyone. I know I made a mistake by hiding who I was, but it wasn't because I didn't trust you. I didn't want my world to overshadow yours. I see you, Sophia, not just as an artist, but as the incredible person you are. And I want to be a part of your world, if you'll let me." Sophia's breath hitched. The sincerity in his voice was undeniable. She glanced around the gallery, taking in the faces of strangers admiring her work, Maya's encouraging smile, and the overwhelming sense of validation she had long craved. But trust wasn't something she could rebuild in a single night. "I need time," she said finally, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. This means so much to me, Ryan. But I need to figure out what I want, what I can handle. Ryan nodded, his expression a mix of hope and understanding. Take all the time you need. I'll be here, no matter what. As the evening drew to a close, Sophia stood in the center of the gallery, surrounded by her art, her dreams finally within reach. Ryan stayed in the background, giving her space but watching with quiet pride as she accepted compliments and encouragement from the attendees. For the first time in years, Sophia felt seen, not just as an artist, but as herself. And though her path forward with Ryan remained uncertain, she couldn't deny that he had given her something invaluable, the belief that her dreams were worth pursuing. The days following the gallery exhibition were a whirlwind for Sophia. Her phone rang constantly with inquiries from collectors, gallery owners, and even local newspapers interested in her story. For the first time, her art was not only a passion but also a tangible path toward a stable future. Despite the excitement, Sophia found herself replaying Ryan's words over and over in her mind. His grand gesture had touched her deeply, but trust was a fragile thing. She needed to be sure of his intentions, sure of her feelings, and sure they could build something genuine after the hurt. Ryan, true to his word, gave her the space she needed. He kept his distance, sending only a single text a few days later. Sophia, I hope the exhibition brought you the recognition you deserve. I'll always be rooting for you, no matter what. Ryan. Sophia stared at the message for what felt like hours. It was simple, yet it carried the weight of everything he'd done for her. Maya, ever the voice of reason and mischief, sat beside her on the couch one evening and nudged her with a grin. He's not a bad guy, you know. I know, Sophia admitted, sighing. But it's not that simple. Maya leaned back, her expression softening. It never is. But I've never seen anyone go to such lengths for you before. He messed up, sure, but he's trying. Maybe give him a chance to explain himself again, without the anger. Sophia nodded, her heart torn between the fear of getting hurt again and the hope that Ryan could be the partner she had always dreamed of. A week later, Sophia decided it was time to face Ryan. She sent him a text. Can we talk? Coffee tomorrow? His response came quickly. Name the time and place. I'll be there. They met at a small coffee shop tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. Ryan arrived early, dressed simply in a dark sweater and jeans. When Sophia walked in, he stood, his face lighting up with a mixture of relief and nervousness. Hi, he said softly. Hi, Sophia replied, sitting down across from him. For a moment, neither of them spoke, the tension hanging heavy in the air. Finally, Sophia broke the silence. I've had time to think, she began, her voice steady but firm, and I want to hear your side of things. No big gestures, no distractions, just the truth. Ryan nodded, his hands clasped tightly around his coffee cup. You deserve that. You deserve everything I didn't give you when we first met. I lied by omission, Sophia, and I'll regret that forever. But I didn't do it because I wanted to deceive you. I did it because I was scared. Scared of what? Sophia asked, her eyes searching his. Of losing the chance to know you, Ryan admitted, his voice thick with emotion. My world is complicated. People see my name and immediately think of money, power, influence. They don't see me, but you did. From the moment we met, you treated me like I was just Ryan, not some tech millionaire or CEO. And I didn't want to lose that. Sophia's heart softened as she listened, but she wasn't ready to let him off the hook completely. You could have trusted me, Ryan. I would have understood. I know, he said, his gaze unwavering. And that's why I'll never forgive myself for not telling you sooner. But I need you to know that every moment we spent together was real. I care about you, Sophia, more than I've ever cared about anyone. And if you'll give me a second chance, I promise to never let you down again. Sophia studied him, her emotions warring within her. She saw the sincerity in his eyes, the vulnerability he rarely showed. Ryan wasn't just apologizing. He was baring his soul. I need to take things slow, she said finally. If we're going to try again, it has to be built on honesty. No more secrets. Ryan nodded immediately. You have my word. Whatever you need, I'm here. Over the following weeks, Ryan and Sophia began to rebuild their relationship. They kept things simple: long walks in the park, quiet dinners at local diners, and endless conversations about their hopes and dreams. Sophia found herself letting her guard down, bit by bit. Ryan proved himself through his actions, showing up to support her mother's doctor visits, helping her organize her growing collection of art supplies, and simply being present when she needed a shoulder to lean on. For his part, Ryan felt freer than he ever had before. With Sophia, he didn't have to maintain the polished facade required in his professional life. She challenged him, grounded him, and inspired him in ways he hadn't thought possible. One evening, as they strolled through her favorite park, Sophia paused and turned to Ryan. "You know," she said with a small smile, "Maya keeps calling this a romantic comedy. Two people from completely different worlds somehow finding each other." Ryan chuckled, his eyes twinkling. "If this were a movie, I'd be the guy doing everything he could to win back the girl he doesn't deserve." Sophia laughed softly. "Maybe, but if it's a romantic comedy, we're rewriting it together." Ryan reached for her hand, his expression earnest. "As long as I get to write the rest of the story with you, I'm happy." Sophia squeezed his hand, her heart finally at peace. "We'll see where it goes, one page at a time." Their second chance wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. A relationship built on mutual respect, understanding, and a determination to grow together. Sophia and Ryan knew the road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but for the first time, they were ready to face it together. The weeks that followed marked a pivotal moment in Sophia and Ryan's relationship. They had come a long way, but the foundation of trust between them was still fragile. Each new day was a test, one that they both embraced with the understanding that building trust took time, patience, and a genuine commitment to each other. Sophia was learning to let go of the lingering doubts that had clouded her heart. Ryan's actions spoke louder than his words ever could, and for the first time, she felt the possibility of a future built on honesty. But even as they grew closer, the echoes of his past deceit occasionally made her pause, just as he, too, sometimes hesitated, unsure of how much he could give without overwhelming her. One afternoon, Sophia found herself in a small local gallery, nervously pacing the aisles while Ryan stood off to the side, giving her space as she made her rounds. It was her first big step back into the art world, her very first solo exhibition, with pieces carefully curated for a wider audience. Ryan had insisted on helping with the event, but it hadn't been without its challenges. She had been overwhelmed with managing everything, from the logistics to the last-minute invitations, and yet, Ryan had been there every step of the way. He didn't hover. Instead, he supported her quietly, ensuring she never had to face the pressure alone. "Hey," Ryan said softly, approaching her as she studied one of her pieces, a vibrant portrait of her mother. The light in the gallery highlighted the deep emotion in the painting, and for a moment, Sophia lost herself in the brushstrokes. "I still can't believe this is happening," she confessed, her voice a little strained. "It feels unreal to see my work here, to think that so many people are going to be looking at it." Ryan stepped closer, his presence grounding her. "It's beautiful, Sophia. You've worked so hard for this, and you deserve every bit of recognition." She turned to him, her expression softening. "I couldn't have done it without you," she admitted. "Not just the exhibition, but everything. You've been there in a way I didn't expect, a way that I needed." Ryan smiled, his eyes warm. "I told you, I'm not going anywhere. I'll always have your back, Sophia. You've shown me what really matters. I just hope I'm proving to you that I'm worthy of your trust." Sophia felt a flutter in her chest. She wanted to believe it, wanted to believe that they could have a future without the weight of past mistakes. But the fear still lingered, a subtle ache that reminded her of the pain she'd once felt. "I'm trying," she said quietly, her voice wavering. "I really am. But trust isn't something I can give away easily." Ryan's expression softened, understanding her hesitation without needing further explanation. "I know, and I'm not rushing you. We'll go at your pace, no matter how slow." As the evening wore on and guests mingled around them, Sophia took a moment to step outside for some fresh air. The air was crisp, and the city lights glittered like 1,000 stars in the night sky. "Hey," Ryan said, joining her on the sidewalk and slipping his hand into hers. "You okay?" Sophia looked up at him, her heart full. She was still uncertain about the future, still haunted by the echoes of betrayal, but for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of peace. "I'm okay," she said with a small smile. "I think I'm finally starting to feel like I'm on the right path, and that means a lot to me." Ryan squeezed her hand gently. "Whatever path you choose, I'll be right here." Sophia's smile deepened, and she leaned into him. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time, she was ready to walk forward, one step at a time, with Ryan by her side. Over the next few months, they found themselves in a routine of mutual support. Ryan continued to lend his expertise in business, helping Sophia navigate the world of art exhibitions and even securing her a studio space where she could truly begin to flourish. In turn, Sophia encouraged him to embrace his philanthropic side, to share more of himself with the world beyond his business empire. They began to work on joint projects, using their combined skills to give back to the community. Sophia's art became a vehicle for social change, with some of her pieces being auctioned for charity, and Ryan became involved in the local art scene, funding scholarships for aspiring artists. Together, they made a meaningful impact, each day proving to the other that their trust and love could extend beyond just the two of them. But even as their bond deepened, the shadows of their past still lingered. The moment of Ryan's deception would never fully be erased, but it was becoming easier to forgive. Sophia realized that the most important thing was that Ryan was no longer the man who had hidden parts of himself from her. He had chosen to open up, to be vulnerable, and to invest in their future. One evening, after a particularly successful charity event they'd hosted together, Ryan took Sophia's hand as they walked through the city streets. The air was warm with the promise of summer, and the noise of the city felt distant, as if it were just the two of them in the world. "Sophia," Ryan began, his voice serious, "I know we've come a long way, and I'm proud of us, but I need to ask you something." Sophia turned to him, her heart racing. "What is it?" Ryan paused, gathering his thoughts. "I want to spend my life with you. I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Will you marry me?" Sophia's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't expected this, hadn't thought that the man who had once lied to her could now be the one asking for her hand. But in that moment, with everything they had overcome and the love they shared, she realized that this was the next step. "Yes," she said softly, her voice full of emotion. "Yes, I'll marry you." Ryan's face broke into a grin, and he pulled her into a tight embrace. The crowd around them seemed to disappear, and for the first time in a long while, Sophia felt like she was exactly where she needed to be. Sophia and Ryan's engagement marked a new chapter in their journey together, but the road ahead was still filled with challenges. As they celebrated their love and the future they were building, they also began to face the realities of balancing their growing relationship with their respective careers and the communities they sought to impact. Sophia's art was gaining momentum, with her work being featured in various local galleries and even attracting attention from international collectors. Her first independent exhibition had been a major success, and the buzz around her talent continued to grow. She was no longer just a struggling artist. She was becoming a force in the art world. Yet, as she rose to prominence, she never forgot her roots, staying grounded in the community that had supported her from the beginning. With Ryan by her side, she became more involved in charitable efforts, especially in providing art education to underprivileged children. Together, they spearheaded an initiative to bring art programs into local schools, believing that everyone, regardless of their background, deserved the chance to express themselves creatively. The program was an instant success, and the joy it brought to the children was undeniable. One of the most rewarding moments for Sophia was seeing a group of children at a local event proudly displaying their artwork, their faces shining with pride as they explained their pieces to anyone who would listen. Ryan stood beside her, watching the scene unfold with a sense of quiet fulfillment. He had never thought of himself as a philanthropist, but with Sophia, he was learning the joy that came from giving back. "We're making a difference," Sophia said softly, watching a young girl explain her painting to an elderly couple. Ryan nodded, his arm around her shoulders. "We really are." It wasn't just about the art anymore. It was about using their positions to affect change in the lives of others. Ryan's wealth and influence provided the resources, but it was Sophia's vision and passion that were driving the impact. As they continued to work on community projects together, their love for one another grew stronger. The more they gave, the more they received, not just from the people whose lives they touched, but from each other. Their bond deepened as they navigated the challenges of blending their professional worlds, knowing that the key to success was working together, side by side. One afternoon, after a long day of meetings and gallery showings, Ryan surprised Sophia by taking her to a quiet rooftop overlooking the city. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. They stood in silence for a moment, taking in the beauty of the view. "This is incredible," Sophia said, her voice full of awe. Ryan turned to her, a thoughtful expression on his face. "It's beautiful, but it's nothing compared to what we're building together." Sophia's heart swelled with emotion. It wasn't just the view that took her breath away. It was the life they had created. They had built something real, something grounded in love, trust, and shared values. Ryan smiled, pulling her into a warm embrace. "I'm so proud of you. You've done all of this, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you." Sophia looked up at him, her eyes full of gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you, Ryan. You've taught me that love is more than just a feeling. It's about making a difference. Together, we're stronger." As they stood there, the city buzzing around them, they knew that this was just the beginning. Their work wasn't finished yet. They had a future to build, one where their love and their efforts would continue to inspire and uplift others. Their shared vision for the future was clear: to use their love and their resources to create a lasting impact on the world. And with every step they took together, they were laying the foundation for a legacy that would outlast both of them. But no matter how much they accomplished, no matter how many people they helped, Sophia and Ryan never lost sight of what mattered most: their relationship. Their love was the heart of everything they did, the reason they pushed forward when the road got tough, the anchor that kept them grounded when the world seemed overwhelming. They had come through so much. Trust had been rebuilt, love had been tested, and they had emerged stronger for it. Their bond was unbreakable, and as they looked toward the future, they knew there was nothing they couldn't face together. As the months passed, Sophia and Ryan's connection deepened in ways neither of them could have anticipated. The successes of their joint ventures, their growing community impact, and the overwhelming sense of support from those around them made their relationship feel like a dream come true. But there was one more step Ryan knew he had to take, one that would solidify their bond forever. Sophia's art studio had opened its doors just a few weeks earlier, a grand achievement that had been years in the making. It was a place where she could fully explore her creativity, a space to bring her dreams to life. The studio, filled with natural light and the soothing sounds of the city outside, had quickly become a sanctuary for her. It was the culmination of all the hard work and sacrifice, a reflection of everything she had poured into her art and into her relationship with Ryan. On the night of the grand opening, the studio was buzzing with excitement. Guests flowed in and out of the space, admiring the walls adorned with her latest pieces. Each corner of the room reflected the heart and soul she had invested into her craft. Sophia stood near the back of the room, watching as people admired her work, but her gaze kept drifting to Ryan, who was conversing with some of the guests. She couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. This was her moment, her achievement, and yet Ryan was by her side, always supportive, always present. He had been her rock through it all, and tonight, he was the reason this moment felt complete. As the evening drew to a close, Sophia felt a soft tap on her shoulder. Turning around, she was greeted by Ryan, who had a mischievous grin on his face. "Where are we going?" she asked, surprised to see him signaling for her to follow him. Ryan didn't answer right away, but simply led her toward the back of the studio, out into the small courtyard that connected the building to the street. The night air was crisp, and the twinkling lights from the city reflected off the glass windows of the building. "What's going on?" Sophia asked again, a hint of curiosity creeping into her voice. Ryan smiled, pausing at the edge of the courtyard, where a small table with 2 chairs had been set up. The glow from the streetlights illuminated the scene, casting a soft, romantic glow over everything. On the table, there was a bottle of champagne, 2 glasses, and a small, elegant box. Sophia's breath caught in her throat as she realized what was happening. Ryan turned to face her, his eyes full of warmth and sincerity. "Sophia," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I've known for a while now that you're the one I want to spend my life with. We've been through so much together, and through it all, you've shown me what love really is. You've taught me how to be vulnerable, how to trust, how to give with all my heart. And I want to continue doing that, for you, for us, for the rest of my life." Sophia's heart was racing, her eyes welling up with tears. She had never expected this moment to come in such a quiet, intimate way. Just the two of them, in the courtyard of her own studio, surrounded by the love they had built. Ryan knelt down on one knee, his eyes never leaving hers. "Sophia, will you marry me?" For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The world outside faded away, and all that mattered was Ryan's words and the sincerity in his gaze. Everything they had gone through, everything they had built, had led to this moment. The question hung in the air, as heavy as it was beautiful. Sophia's voice trembled as she finally spoke. "Yes, Ryan. Yes, I will marry you." Ryan's face broke into a radiant smile, and he stood, taking her hands in his. He slipped a delicate diamond ring onto her finger, a symbol of their promise to each other, of the life they would continue to build. Tears of joy slid down Sophia's cheeks as she hugged him tightly, feeling the weight of the moment settle into her heart. They had come so far, and now, their love was being sealed in a way that could never be undone. As they stood together in the courtyard, their love reaffirmed by the words spoken, the studio's lights glowing softly in the background, they both knew that their journey was far from over. But with each other, they were ready for whatever lay ahead. The future was theirs, and it was a future built on trust, love, and the shared vision of a life lived fully, together. The days leading up to Sophia and Ryan's wedding were filled with excitement and anticipation. It was a wedding that would reflect everything their love had become, intimate, meaningful, and deeply personal. The venue was no grand hall or expensive banquet space. It was the art studio, the very place where their journey together had blossomed. Surrounded by Sophia's artwork, the studio became the backdrop for their vows, creating a magical atmosphere that felt more like a dream than reality. The evening sun cast a soft glow through the tall windows, illuminating the room in a warm, golden light. The air was filled with the subtle scent of fresh flowers, with arrangements thoughtfully placed around the studio to complement the artworks. Sophia's paintings adorned every wall, each piece a reflection of her heart, her growth, and the love she and Ryan had cultivated. It was the perfect setting for a celebration of their love, of everything they had overcome and achieved together. Sophia stood in front of a full-length mirror in her dressing room, adjusting the lace of her wedding dress. The delicate fabric shimmered softly, and the veil framed her face with elegance. Her hands trembled slightly as she touched the edges of the gown, marveling at the beauty of the moment. She had never imagined her wedding would be like this, simple, yet so full of meaning. But with Ryan, everything had changed. The grand gestures, the extravagant parties, none of it mattered. All that mattered was that they were here, together, ready to take the next step in their journey. Her best friend and maid of honor, Lily, stepped into the room, her smile wide and genuine. "You look absolutely stunning, Sophia," she said, her voice full of emotion. "This is perfect, just like you've always dreamed." Sophia laughed softly, wiping a tear from her cheek. "I never dreamed it would be this perfect." Lily smiled, brushing her hair back. "Well, you deserve every bit of happiness, Sophia. You've worked so hard for this, and now it's finally your time." As the guests began to fill the studio, the excitement in the air was palpable. People from all walks of life, from Sophia's art community to the many lives Ryan had touched through his philanthropic efforts, gathered together to celebrate this union. They had all watched this love story unfold, from two people who had been strangers to a couple whose bond had become unbreakable. Everyone knew this was a wedding not just of two hearts, but of two worlds colliding and becoming one. Ryan stood at the front of the room, his eyes shining as he awaited his bride. He wore a tailored suit, the colors of which subtly matched the soft tones of the paintings that decorated the room. His expression was one of quiet joy, and his heart swelled with anticipation. He had waited for this moment, but now that it was here, it felt surreal. His gaze was fixed on the door, and when he saw Sophia step into the room, his breath caught in his chest. She was breathtaking, an ethereal vision, and for a moment, it felt like time had stopped. All he could see was her. The guests rose to their feet as Sophia walked down the aisle, her hand resting gently on her father's arm. The music played softly in the background, a tender melody that filled the room with warmth. The path was lined with candles and flowers, and every step felt like a dream unfolding before her eyes. When she reached Ryan, they exchanged a look of pure love, a shared understanding that words could never fully capture. Her father kissed her cheek before taking his seat, leaving Sophia and Ryan alone at the altar. The world seemed to fade away as they stood there, facing one another, ready to make their vows. The officiant began the ceremony, but for Sophia and Ryan, it felt like time had slowed. They only had eyes for each other, their hearts beating in unison. And when the time came to speak their vows, their words came from deep within, from the place where their souls had intertwined. "Sophia," Ryan began, his voice steady but filled with emotion, "from the moment we met, I knew you were different. You've shown me what true love means. You've opened my heart to a world I didn't even know was possible. You've taught me the power of vulnerability, of kindness, of giving. You are my greatest treasure, and I promise to love you with everything I am, for all the days of my life." Sophia's heart overflowed as she spoke her vows. "Ryan, you came into my life when I least expected it, and you changed everything. You've been my support, my partner, my best friend. You've shown me what it means to truly trust, to truly love. I promise to stand by you, to share every dream, every challenge, every triumph. Together, we will face whatever comes our way, with love as our guide." With those words, their commitment to each other was sealed. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife, and as they shared their first kiss as a married couple, the room erupted into applause. It was a kiss that symbolized everything they had been through, everything they had overcome, and everything they were about to build. As the evening continued with laughter, music, and dancing, the couple stood together, surrounded by friends, family, and supporters who had been there from the beginning. Sophia's artwork continued to shine on the walls, a testament to the journey they had shared and the love they had built. They didn't need a grand venue or extravagant displays. All they needed was each other. In the months that followed, their life together unfolded like a masterpiece. Sophia's studio continued to thrive, becoming a hub for aspiring artists. She used her platform to inspire others, just as Ryan had always done with his philanthropy. And together, they continued to push boundaries, both in their professional lives and in their love for each other. Sophia and Ryan's marriage was built on a foundation of trust, love, and shared purpose. Their journey together was far from over, but they knew that whatever came their way, they would face it together. With every new chapter, they were not just creating a life. They were creating a legacy of love, passion, and the unwavering belief that anything was possible when two people truly believed in each other. As the years unfurled, the love between Sophia and Ryan deepened, evolving in ways that both surprised and humbled them. Their life together became a tapestry woven with shared dreams, sacrifices, and victories. The world they had built was one of harmony, balance, and purpose, a testament to what could be achieved when two souls were aligned, not only in love but in vision. Sophia's art studio, which had once been a dream painted on the edges of uncertainty, had transformed into a vibrant sanctuary for artists. What started as a humble space to showcase her own creations now flourished as a hub of inspiration. The walls were adorned not only with her work, but with the masterpieces of emerging artists whose voices had been given a platform because of her unwavering belief in the power of art. Sophia's mentorship programs had expanded, and young artists came from all corners, eager to learn not just the craft, but the lessons of resilience and authenticity she imparted with every brushstroke. The studio became more than just a place for creation. It was a space for community. a sanctuary where dreams were not only nurtured but made real. And through it all, Ryan stood by her side, just as he always had. His support never wavered. It was constant, a foundation from which she could soar. His presence in her life was not just a partnership in love, but a partnership in purpose. His philanthropic ventures, inspired by Sophia's heart, had reached new heights as well. Together, they had learned that the true power of wealth wasn't in what it could buy, but in what it could give, the chance to lift others, to spread kindness, and to create opportunities for those who might never have had the chance to thrive. Ryan's success as an entrepreneur continued to fuel his dedication to giving back, but his most treasured success was found not in his financial portfolio, but in the love he had found with Sophia. Watching her transform not only her life but the lives of others filled him with a sense of pride that no business deal or award could ever match. The greatest project they had ever worked on was the one they had built together, a life full of meaning, connection, and mutual growth. Their home became a reflection of their journey, open, filled with art and books, laughter and light. Every corner held a story, every piece of furniture had a memory attached. They filled their lives with travel, with learning, with time spent with those they loved. And yet, even in their busiest moments, they found joy in the simple act of being together. Whether it was sharing quiet mornings with coffee or taking long walks in the park, they cherished the peace they had found in one another. Sophia's art reached new audiences, touching hearts and stirring souls with its raw beauty and deep emotional resonance. But it was not just the art itself that captivated people. It was the story behind it, the love story that had ignited her creativity, the love she had for Ryan, and the way he had helped her discover a strength she never knew she had. Their shared vision was reflected in every piece, every stroke, every color, a narrative of passion, of transformation, and of trust. And as they continued to build their legacy, they never lost sight of the simple truth they had learned from each other. That love, in its truest form, is not just about passion or grand gestures, but about showing up for each other every day. It's about being a partner not only in joy but in struggle, and lifting one another up when the world seems heavy. In the quiet moments, when they were alone together, they would talk about the future, their future. And each time, they both felt a sense of deep peace, knowing that whatever life might bring, they had already built something far more meaningful than anything they could have ever imagined. They had built a love that would stand the test of time, one that would continue to grow and evolve, just as they had. Sophia and Ryan had created a life not defined by perfection, but by the depth of their connection. They had learned that happiness was not a destination, but a journey that was best traveled together. Looking out at the world they had created, standing side by side in the life they had so carefully crafted, they both knew one thing. Their story was far from over. It had only just begun. With each new chapter, they would write it together, building a future that was filled with light, purpose, and above all, love. A future that would inspire others to believe in the possibility of transformation and to trust that with love and unwavering support, anything could be accomplished. And so, hand in hand, they stepped forward into the future, a future full of endless possibilities, where their love would continue to be the greatest masterpiece they ever created. As the years passed, Sophia and Ryan continued to thrive, not just as individuals but as a united force, shaping the world around them with love, creativity, and compassion. Their journey, once filled with uncertainty, had evolved into a beautiful testament to what can be achieved when two hearts beat in sync, when love is not just a feeling but a driving force behind every action. They had built a life rich in purpose, one that balanced success with humility, passion with dedication, and personal dreams with a shared vision. Together, they had shown the world that true wealth lies not in what you accumulate, but in what you give, in the way you touch lives and inspire others to do the same. Sophia's art continued to flourish, evolving with every brushstroke, a reflection of the woman she had become. Her gallery was not just a place for her work, but for others to share their voices, to create and grow in a space filled with love and acceptance. Her legacy as an artist, mentor, and philanthropist was firmly established, but it was the love story behind her work that resonated the most with those who followed her journey. Ryan, too, found fulfillment not only in his business endeavors, but in the life he had built alongside Sophia. His heart was full, his purpose clear, helping others while nurturing the woman he loved. He had learned that success, at its core, is about the connections you make and the lives you change. They often looked back on their journey with gratitude for the struggles, the twists of fate, and the moments of serendipity that had brought them together. Their love, built on trust and mutual respect, had withstood every challenge, and they knew it would continue to endure for a lifetime. Their story was more than just a love story. It was a testament to the power of resilience, the beauty of transformation, and the importance of building something lasting and meaningful. And as they looked ahead, hand in hand, they knew that their journey was far from over. The future was bright, full of new adventures, new challenges, and endless possibilities. Together, they were ready for whatever came next, knowing that as long as they had each other, anything was possible. Their love was their greatest legacy, and it would continue to shine brightly, inspiring others long after their time had passed. The story of Sophia and Ryan was a reminder to the world that when love is at the center of everything you do, the possibilities are limitless. And so, they walked forward into the future, with hearts full of hope, hands tightly clasped, and the knowledge that the best chapters of their story were still to come. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this entire story and for being part of this incredible journey. We hope you enjoyed every twist and turn, and that the character's journey resonated with you as much as it did with us. If you found the story meaningful, don't forget to give it a like, leave a comment, and share your thoughts. We love hearing from you. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to stay updated with more amazing stories, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Your support means the world to us, and it's what keeps us going. We appreciate you being here, and we can't wait to share more with you. Until next time, thank you once again for being part of this story, and we hope to see you in the next one.